Thoughts and views of this podcast and the sole views of the curators of this podcast is not the views of United States Postal Service.
How does he do it?
And we are back. Yes, on the Route Podcast, episode 16, I believe.
16.
Yes, sir. And this one is going to be about driving training from a real driver instructor. And I'm going to let her introduce herself real fast, tell you her name and her years of service in the post office.
Hey, everybody. I'm Nancy Fuchs. They call me Miss Fuchs. Over 26 and a half years in the Postal Service.
That's right. Like we told y'all, we always going to get some veterans in here that's going to tell y'all how it really is and what's going on in the Postal Service from the driving instruction side of things. But before we get to that, Miss Folks, please tell us, before you got to the post office, what did you used to do?
At the high school, I graduated, went to the Navy, spent a few years there. At 20, I started the post office. Quick funny story about the post office. I didn't even want to work at the post office. I went with my cousin to take the test. Back then, you had to take the test, the drug test. You had to do the interview, everything. And she did not get hired. She did not speak to me for like 6 months because I got hired and I did. So, I got a phone call. I went back to Florida because I had just got out the service. My aunt called me like, hey, the post office keep calling for you. They keep calling for you. And I'm thinking like, I don't want to work at the post office. I'm down here in Florida chilling. So I came back. I did the interview, got the job. I told them I needed 2 weeks to move back to Philly because I'm from Florida. So came back and just started from there. March 15th, 1997 was my official start date.
So what part of Florida are you from?
St. Petersburg. Parents got divorced. I was born in Philly. Parents got divorced, and then we moved to Florida. And I was there until I graduated high school. Graduated a year early. Was in the EGO program, early graduation option. So I only went to high school for 3 years.
Nice. So, what would you say was your first impression about the Postal Service when you first got started?
I was lazy. I didn't want to walk. All that walking. Listen. You see the mail person for a few minutes, you be like, oh, that's easy enough. But then you realize 5-6 hours later, they're still walking. So first off, let's just say I was amazed that I even made it through boot camp because I was not the workout person, the walking, the running. So when I came to the post office and started, it was very, very tough. I remember days not eating, just being tired, the whole body hurt, walking up and down the steps in the type of weather. I came in March. The first day I was by myself, it was a huge snowstorm. So it was like I didn't know where I was going because I'm from Florida. I didn't know what streets I was on. I was catching the wrong bus. It was just, I quit like 5 times. My supervisor was like, all right, go home, get yourself together. We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
So thank God for Miss Barbara Johnson, you know what I mean? She came back and she pulled me back in. So I was, it was just challenging. And then one day it just clicked and I just said, you know what? This is nothing but paper and boxes. I'm not going to let it get the best of me.
Exactly.
And once I leveled up and got my mind right, I was the best caser. I can run through any route, the hard routes, the easy routes. I can just knock them all out. And then I just been with the post office. I did on-the-job training. I was a union delegate. I did Customer Connect for a while. I was on the safety and health team. And then I just started, going to different stations, transferring. When I got to my station that I'm currently at now, my knee started acting up, of course, years wear and tear on the job. So I needed a little something different. So I started looking into a detailed position where I can go give my knee a rest. And that's how I found out about the driver safety instructor.
Okay, so how many stations did you go to before you got to your current station?
This is my 4th station. I started at East Germantown, then I went to North Philadelphia, then I went to Albany. I left Albany because they were moving in Huntington Park, and it was just way too far for me. I had just bought a house in Norristown, so it was way too far for me to travel from Norristown to Huntington Park and be on time while dropping my daughter off to school. So Roxborough was the closest I could get from not being out of the city, but in the city because I'm a city carrier.
So you never thought about, beforehand, maybe transferring to the Norristown station, or?
I didn't want to lose my seniority, for one. because you use a seniority once you go from city to suburbs. I tried to transfer 3 times to Atlanta. Nobody wanted to transfer with me. I thought about going into supervision. The hours were just bad. I wanted to be there when my daughter got home from school, when she got home from aftercare. I didn't want to be going to work 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and just leaving her, with my village. I didn't want to do that. So that's why I just like, all right, let me find something different. It was just the hours just worked better for me with the job I had.
Okay, so what was your first impression about the station that you currently reside in when you first got there?
I didn't have an impression. I was just trying to get to the closest thing I could get, and that was Roxborough. Now, I was deceived a little bit because everyone I saw, they were in vehicles, right? I get to the station, and it's a walking station. I'm like, what the? So that was the only thing, and I was like, I'm not taking my car. I'm going to get on the bus, and I did that for about 6 months, right? One day, it started raining like crazy, and I was like, all right, let me just use my car. So that's how that came about. But I mean, I liked it. The distance was like 35, 40 minutes on a good day from my house. It was, like I said, it was just way better. And it was the closest I could get besides like a Market Square or something like that. So.
All right. So you said, you looked into a detailed assignment, and which was driving instructing.
Mm-hmm.
How did you find, the information about it?
I know peoples. So I know 2 people who tried to get me in it before, and I was just being hard-headed, like, oh, I don't want it. I got so used to the overtime being a carrier. There's plenty of money, plenty of overtime, and once you get used to living or doing a certain thing, it's just like, okay. For the driver safety instructor, the overtime was nowhere near to what it was as a carrier. So I was just kind of worried, can I pay my bills? Can I eat? Can I travel a lot? Can I do my traveling? I like to shop. Can I shop? And so I knew the money was going to be off. So before, once I applied for it, I just started scaling back, trying to look at a budget. Okay, let me not do this because I don't know how the money's going to look, or let me fall back on this a little bit. And it was a challenge financially trying to make that transition. And so once I applied for it in June, I didn't hear anything all summer. So I said, well, apparently I didn't get it or whatever, it's fine. Then I got a phone call saying that to report on Monday. It was a Friday, and I didn't know. I didn't have time to say bye to my customers or nothing. And so then Monday I just showed up at the wrong place, didn't get the correct information, showed up at the wrong place. So after that, it was good to go, and they train you. You have to go through all the training that everybody else go through. I had to get on the computer. I had to go through the course. I had to do everything to be able to train someone else. And then I had to go to a facilitator's training, which is like 2 to 3 days. That was even longer, about your teaching style. That was very informative, very good. And before I can even do anything. So it was just like a bit of a process that I wasn't even expecting. I just thought I'd show up and I just start teaching people. And it was like, nah, we're not doing that. So it was just different.
So it was very thorough, so to speak, like how they were getting you guys ready and prepared.
Mm-hmm, extremely thorough. And then it's like a lot of watching and taking note and kind of like sitting back and learning to be quiet, to listen, because everything they're doing, you have to figure out your own way. You're not going to say exactly the same thing they're doing, but you're going to go over the basics, but you're going to make it your own. So you take a little bit from each other instructor before you start talking, and then you get like a certain period. So when I got there, that was like that Monday. They were backed up. They were looking for instructors. I literally had like my first student that Wednesday. It was so fast, and I wasn't really prepared for it. But we got through. The student didn't know what you didn't know, so it was cool.
So did that kind of make you reminisce about when you were getting trained on the vehicles as you were sitting there from the other's perspective?
It did. And another thing is, my instructor, when I came in, was yelling and screaming at me. So I was always like, I'm never going to do that. If I'm ever an instructor, I want people to feel comfortable, because I know the anticipation. You're already anxious. You're already scared. Basically, if you don't pass driver's training, you can't continue with the job, right? Some of the people know that. Some don't. At one point, we were saying that to them. Other points, we weren't allowed to say that to them, right? So they were coming in. Some were quitting their jobs. They had everything right on this. So you want to make them feel comfortable. You want to try to talk to them. You want to try to be like one-on-one conversation with them, like, hey, look, I'm not your boss. I'm a carrier, just like you're a carrier. I'm with you. Let me just listen to me so I can help get you through this. So.
And you said there were 5 vehicles, right? That,
yes.
People have to train on. What are the vehicles?
So the initial vehicle is the LLV, that standard. If you don't know, they have like 160,000 of those in fleet. We're trying to get rid of them because they were made in the early 80s. They were the upgraded version of the Jeep Wrangler that we used to have way back in the day. All right, and that's the vehicle, 4-cylinder, 7'1". Then we have the FFV, which is the bigger. It's the same height, 7'1", but it's 2 feet longer than the LLV. They were the upgraded version of the LLV. 6-cylinder, made by Ford, go a lot faster, a lot smoother. The wheels in the front are the same as the ones in the back. In the LLV, the wheels in the front are smaller. It has a very tight turning radius to get you down to small streets, so which is good, right? So eventually, at some point, those two vehicles will be phased out. They're very, very old. What's happening is every time something breaks or they need something, they're scrapping them because they don't make some of the parts to fix those. So you're going to start seeing, as time goes on, less and less of those vehicles. Then the third vehicle is the Mercedes Metris. Right-hand vehicle, it's a Mercedes. It got everything, right? It got lane assist, you know what I mean? It got air, heat, which you don't have. Basically, in the other vehicles, you got the heat, but you don't have the air condition. It has the radio. It got the power steering, right? You got your radio. It's Bluetooth capable. All right, you got auto start. Like it has everything. So we're showing them how to drive that as well. All three of those vehicles are the right-hand drive vehicles. Then we have the ProMaster, right? That's the longer vehicle. Those vehicles, it's like a van. It drives like a van. You're back on your left-hand side. So even though you're driving on your left-hand side, we still got to train you because it has that running board that sits on the side, okay? Then we have the 2-ton. The 2-ton is bigger. People are terrified of this vehicle for some reason when they come to drive it, and I was one of them.
That's my bread and butter, man. I love that vehicle.
When I had to go down there to get trained for it, I was like, I don't want to drive it. I don't want to drive it. and I had to drive it. I had to do the course. Like I was saying earlier, I had to do everything they had to do. I had to take a street drive with one of the other instructors. It was like, don't be scared. And to be honest, once you drive the 2-ton, it's really easier to drive than the ProMaster. It basically drives itself. You're basically just steering it. People don't want to be around a 2-ton. They just kind of get out the way from it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's the 2-ton.
So try to tell those guys that.
What is your favorite vehicle out of those?
My favorite vehicle to drive is the 2-ton.
The 2-ton, all right.
The 2-ton, yep. The ProMaster is easy because it drives like a regular vehicle, but it's that running board. The 2-ton sits up higher. I'm a smaller person, so I like to sit up higher and be bigger. Yeah, you know, people see the 2-ton, they kind of move out your way. Mm-hmm. Everybody trying to race the ProMaster because it's a postal vehicle. They don't want to be behind you. They don't know when you're going to stop. Right, and the LLV and FFV is just so old and so outdated. So I always say it's like an upgraded electric golf cart. Pretty much.
While I was training people, like, what is the most thing like you get people where they struggle? What vehicle they struggle? Do you struggle with the LLV or which one? Like, what kind of intimidates most like new people? Because like I said, when I had my wife, she was scared of LLV. I had to she called me on my phone I had to calm her down. Like, look, you gonna get through it.
So the first thing I always tell them, so let me back up for 1 second. I'm going to answer that. The first thing is they go to orientation, and then we have a class. Me and two other persons will do the class from setting, right? We show videos. We walk through the booklet. We tell them about safety. Safety is always our number one thing. We tell them the exercises we're going to do, and I'll tell you those in a second. And we walk them through everything. We ask any questions, and we always say, all right, the first two things. One, we're not here to teach you how to drive. Okay, everybody in here should have their driver's license. That's what we always say. And then we want to look at your driver's license. We want to look at the expiration date to make sure it's valid. Do you know how many people we get in those rooms? No, it expired a year or two ago or whatever the situation is, okay? Some of them don't even have the license on you. So the other thing we tell them in conjunction with that is going forward as a postal carrier, your license need to be on you every day when you show up for work, whether you're going to a walk-in station or not. Okay. The other thing is, I don't know if people pay attention to this, restrictions on your license. If you have glasses, corrective lens. Some people have no clue that's on their license. I wear glasses. It's not on my license because I just recently started wearing glasses, right? So if you have corrective lens, you got to have three things: glasses, contacts, or LASIK surgery. If you have contacts or LASIK, we give you a waiver to fill out. That's always going to be in your folder with the post office. So we have turned so many people down who came for the actual training, who does not, I have glasses on my license, but I never wore them. And we can't train them. And we go over there 1,000,001 times before they come to us, and they still come to us sometimes. All right. And we always say, look, we're not digging in your eyes to see if you got contact lenses. We're just going to take your word. We're not calling your doctor to see if you got LASIK. We're just going to take your word. But if you need it, this is a safety issue. You need to have one of the three. So going back to that, right, what is the hardest for them is initially the LLV, because I can't drive on the right. That's what they all say. It's just a regular vehicle, right?
But try it.
Exactly.
Everybody has this apprehension. It's the right side. It's the right side. And I always say, listen, after you're in the vehicle for 20 minutes, you're not even going to realize you're driving on the right side. That's just the bottom line. You just got to get comfortable. It's just like driving anybody else's new car. You get in the car that's not your vehicle. It's always uncomfortable when you start driving it. All right. The ProMaster is probably one of the ones that they feel a little bit more ease, because again, it's back on the left side. It drives like a minivan. Again, people are terrified with the 2-ton. The thing I do want to reiterate, LLV, FFE, and Mercedes Metris, that's either you pass or fail. If you cannot drive those 3 vehicles, you cannot continue with the post office. The ProMaster and the 2-ton is either you qualified or you didn't qualify. I've had so many people who don't qualify for the 2-ton. First off, they're scared and they won't even make it out the gate. All right? You always have to do a street drive with all the vehicles.
How does it feel? Well, how do you feel getting in those vehicles with people that, or specifically a 2-ton, and they don't want to drive it, and you have to get in that vehicle and go out on the street with them?
For the ProMaster and the 2-ton, I don't take them out. If they're not comfortable going on the street, you're not going on the street drive. I had a guy who begged me not to take him on the street drive.
Wow.
Really?
And that was his second or third time that his station had sent him back to get trained on that vehicle. He couldn't do any part of the course. He couldn't do anything. And when it came time, like, look, you have to do the course at least a few times so we can go to the street drive. He did never make it out to the street drive.
That happens a lot.
Not a lot, but just often. And trust me, when they come down, their feelings are not hurt when they don't qualify to drive that vehicle. They like, okay, see you next time. Like, sign my 1260. Like, all right.
Yeah, gotcha. What about the driver training stuck out to you the most that made you want to do that specific detail?
Helping others. Again, I knew how I felt when I came through. Again, the instructor was just yelling at me, making me feel so bad. I was young. I was 20. I could drive because I had a license, but I wasn't driving on an everyday basis. Plus, I was 30th in Market. That's what my driving trainer was. In the middle of traffic, at all that busy by the train, everything, driving a 2-ton. That is terrifying for a young person or someone who don't drive on a regular. In the middle of lunchtime, it was like, all right, come on, let's go.
Yeah, not traffic.
Yes, so it was just that area itself. It couldn't get no busier in Philly than right there. Right where the expressway meets, he had me, the guy pull over, all right, your turn. And I knew I was petrified. And so I did what I could do. And then his thing was, I'm glad they send you to a walking station. Because of how I felt. I was like, I don't want to drive it. So, but at East Germantown, they didn't have, the only vehicles they had were the 2-tons. So me coming in, I came in as a part-time flexi. They had just a 2-ton, and we all had to get trained on it to do relays.
Okay.
So, so again, we train on the 3 vehicles, right? The 2 vehicles, the ProMaster and the 2-ton, is up to your manager or supervisor if they want to bring you back to get trained on those. Some of the stations don't have them, so there's no reason to train you if they don't. And some, it's just a matter of when they're going to need you to be able to drive those vehicles.
Gotcha.
So basically, they only send you back if the station requires it.
Yes. I've had some persons come to me and say, can you request that I come? Or I want to get trained on this, or I want to get trained on that. And I always say you have to go through your manager. It's not up to us if we want to bring you back to train you.
Can somebody request a specific trainer?
They can. It depends on if you're talking about a new hire, right? We just put them in where they fall in. Okay. We don't have a specific name. It's a 6-hour day, right? Mm-hmm. So we talk about the fam, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. And then we say, okay, pick a truck. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we try to stay away from the truck. And I found for myself, since I'm in the class teaching them, they feel like they know me because I'm spent hours with them already.
Right.
So sometimes when they see me, like, oh, okay, I'm going to her truck, or I'm going to try to stick with her because I'm a little bit more familiar. Then you have them, oh, she scared me. I don't want to go to her truck, which is fine. I always tell them, we don't take it personal. We don't want you all to take it personal. And so they just pick a vehicle and then we have that trainer. We've had times, sometimes even myself, like, all right, I don't want you no more. Let me get a different trainer. Again, I don't take it personal. Different personalities, different way of speaking to people, different way of interacting. And so we switch off a lot. Or if you need help, meaning I don't think you want to pass this course, let me get somebody else who maybe can help you or say the same thing I'm saying, but maybe in a different way where it would click for you. So I always tell them, if you get 4 or 5 different instructors coming over to talk to you, just listen. Don't feel embarrassed. Don't feel intimidated. Just listen. We're trying to help you pass the course.
Okay. All right. Gotcha.
Yeah. So when we talk to them in the class, we tell them all these things. So the 6-hour day consists of, we're doing paperwork. We go over the fan, which is the familiarization. We walk around a vehicle for about 45 minutes. We talk about the truck, how to adjust the seat, the mirrors, what number the mirrors is, 7 mirrors on the LLV, which mirror is used for what, how to open up the back, how to turn the lights, every possible thing you could think of on this vehicle. We show them about 45 minutes. This way, when we release them, say, hey, all right, pick a vehicle. They shouldn't be asking us, oh, how do I adjust the seat? Or where's the hazard lights? Or where's the turn signals? Because we've talked about it for those 45 minutes, right?
Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
How many times does it take for you to tell them before it get through? Like,
it depends on the person. Some really don't get it until the last minute. Right. And some can pick it up right away if they're paying attention. And then we have some who watch YouTube videos the night before and come try to tell us what's what. And I just look at them like, okay, well, you just listen anyway, right? Okay. So after that, we walk them through each exercise, maybe 2 times. The 3rd time, we want them to do the exercise. Because our thing is we want to get independent of you because we want to be able to go take you to the street drive, and we're not going to be with you when you go to your station to drive it. So you have to prove to us that you know how to drive this vehicle safe and effective. Right? So they practice for a few hours. Then we take our 30-minute break per union, right? Come back, practice for about another hour. Then we go on the street drive. The street drive is about another hour. Then we come back and we talk about the FFV and the Mercedes Metris. In Delaware, don't get the FFV because they don't have any FFVs in Delaware. Gotcha. And then for the ProMaster and the 2-ton, it's only a 3.5-hour day instead of a 6-hour day.
Do you guys train them on adding the snow tread chains to the tires too, or is that something separate?
No, that's something we don't train them on at all. The manager at each station is responsible for putting those on. So we tell them that in the booklet. We do have a part. We do have a part in the book that tells you about it, and we go over it and we talk about the tires and the tread and stuff like that. But we don't teach them how to put them on or anything. Okay,
so it just depends on like the station having like I guess a relationship with maybe a mechanic shop or somewhere nearby that can actually help them I guess install it on there.
We're told from our point that that's the mechanic's job, not our job as a carrier.
That's like VMF?
Yep. That's VMF job, not our job as a carrier. And we're not popping the hoods. We tell them, no, pop the hood. We're not a mechanic. We're getting paid to deliver mail. I'm just saying, we're getting paid to deliver mail, not fix the vehicle.
That's true.
The only extra thing we're doing is taking snow off the vehicle and putting gas in the vehicle. That's it.
Because they, remember we was at Overbrook and they tried to say we was required to do that?
Yeah. That's what I was asking.
Yeah, that's why I was like that, because they said we were required to put our own chains on our own tires.
From our point of view, we're not required to do that.
So like, with training people, like, what's some of the stories you making tell us like some of the worst ones you might train, some of the funny ones, some of the best ones you see? Wow, I didn't think you would get it. Got on board.
Well, some people, it just depends on the person. Like we have a few people, they surprised us, they made it and they still at the post office. You have some that they don't pass and they're crying and they're begging. And those are the ones, because I'm an empath and I feel so bad for them. I had this one guy, give me one more chance. And I had to tell him, listen, I gave you 11 one more chances. Wow. He couldn't get the exercises. He couldn't do anything by himself. He couldn't get independent of me. He didn't know what he was doing, and I just felt bad, because then you have to look at them and say, okay, you know what, you're released. We'll give you a phone call. You know what I mean? And so sometimes it's difficult because this is people's livelihood. They have family, they have kids, maybe they have bills, of course. And then you have some who pick it up right away, who have no problem. And then we have a lot of repeat people that come back who left the post office for whatever reason and comes back. And I'm always saying, all right, walk to my truck. I need an easy day, because they already know what they pretty much doing. So it's a running joke at the on the range that I always get the special ones because they want to tell me their life story and they want to talk, and I'm like the therapist out there, so I just kind of like listen. So some days can be very interesting when you had no idea what they're talking about. Like, oh, okay, and they just want somebody to talk to and listen to.
Gotcha.
I would like to know what is, in your opinion, a ratio of the pass and fail, of how many people like actually make it and how many people actually don't.
We've been having a few recently to not make it. And I'm gonna tell you why. It's not on our end. And I always tell them, I get them an example when I go through the exercises in the class. I'll say, it's basically Simon Says. We tell you exactly what to do. Or like one of my coworkers always say, we're giving you the test, but we're giving you all the answers, right? All you have to do is listen and remember. And believe it or not, that sounds very, very simple. For some people, it's not, right? And those are the ones who cannot pass the course. Now, many times it's the older people. They're set in their ways, the way they want to drive. They don't want to listen, and it's unfortunate. We've had people 50, 60, I had a couple 70-year-old people come through trying to get this position, trying to drive, right?
70?
Yes, and older, right. And so it's kind of difficult trying to tell them, because they've been driving most of their lives, right, how to drive the postal vehicle, because again, you're on the right side. You have to drive it a little different. Again, the LLV, the wheels are smaller in the front. It drives when you're trying to park a little different. And again, we tell you exactly what mirror to look out of, which way to look, what to do next. All you have to do is repeat and copy. So I always say, it's like Simon Says. If I say Simon Says, raise your left hand and you raise your right, that's not on me, right? And it's as simple as that, and they just can't get it or remember what to do after they finish each exercise. I always say your main thing at the range, remember your steps and remember what exercise to go to next. And for some of them, they just can't remember, especially after break. After break, it's just like, whoa.
They lost it.
They lost it, but you have to give them a break because people get frustrated. They need their time. We need our time to regroup. They go on break. We go on break as well. So the exercises we do pretty much on a range is a tight right turn, because again, you're sitting on the right side. You got the tight turning radius. The left turn, it sounds simple enough, make a left turn. But when you make the left turn in the LLV, the Metris, or the FFV, you have to be on the right side of that lane. The U-turn, again, when you make that full U-turn and you finish, you have to still be on that right side. The K-turn is nothing but a 3-point turn. Again, when you finish the K-turn, we want you back on the right side, lining your shoulder up with that line. Parking, that is the most challenging part for some people, especially those for some reason coming from Delaware. They never parallel parked before, right? 3 easy steps to get you in that parking space for the post office vehicle, because you have 7 mirrors. You cannot miss 3 steps. 1 step to come out. You're not pulling up to come out. You're not backing up to come out. You're just coming out. Backing in on your right and backing in on your left side. Some people never back their vehicles in. I'm the type of person, when I started driving, we were never allowed to pull in. We always had to back our vehicle in. That's how I taught my daughter to drive, right? Some people can't back in and save their lives. And sometimes it's their first time backing in when they come to the range. So
I will say the vehicle training has helped me park in very tight spaces.
Yes.
Because I line certain angles up with different stuff.
Yes.
That's what they taught me, yeah.
Yep, and the only exercise that people probably have not done, right? Because we also do curbside, and that's just pulling up to the mailboxes. That shows you how to get really close, where you're just using your hand and not your back, because after a while you're gonna mess your back up. You do it too many times, too far. The other one is the bad angle merge. You're trying to merge into traffic, but you're sitting on that right side. You can't see what's on that left. If you look into the back over your left shoulder, you're looking at the back of the truck. So we show you how to move the vehicle, stop, lock the wheel, roll it all the way so you can see. Put your shoulder on that steering wheel so you're looking out your left mirror, right? Then you're looking at the window just so you can see the cars coming. And then you're locking back to your right and rolling. And people, sometimes they can't get it. But that's a very important exercise, because if it's not done correctly, you're going to cause a T-bone accident right in the middle of that vehicle.
So how many actual driving instructors is it?
So there's 3 persons that's like the head driver instructors, right? I'm gonna call them the 3 kings, right? They're the cut 50s, all right? So they do also tractor trailer driving. Two persons that we work with that's our instructors, they have either a class A or B, I'm not sure which, but they can also do CDL, but they're on detail as well, right? And then there's I think it's like 7 of us all together, and we had 2 more, but they got sent back to their stations.
So for the people that are coming in to do their tractor trailer driving, are they coming right in off the street as those type of drivers, or they pretty much changing crafts?
So both. So some, that's a mixture. So some come in from like maybe MVO, like a motor vehicle operator. They come in from like a straight truck to the bigger trucks, right? They also have to go through the same thing, right? As far as learning the vehicle, doing the vehicle, and practicing it on the range and doing a street drive. Then you have a lot of new hires that's coming in. You had to have your CDL, and you had to have been driving a CDL truck for 2 years. They come in and they also have to be able to drive on a range. The same range is a very small range with those big tractor trailer trucks. And that is either you pass or you fail. Same exact thing. I know some person, and I'm sure some of you know this person, he was a carrier, moved to another state, came back, took the CDL, and didn't pass, didn't have a job after he had been a carrier for years. So then he had to reapply to be a carrier again because he didn't pass the CDL driver. So one thing I can say about that CDL, you really have to be on point and know your stuff with those. Again, tractor trailers, the way they drive, they're so huge. People, cars, backing into the docks, getting in tight spaces with those tractor trailers, you really have to be on point with those. So they play no games when it comes to you either pass or fail. It's no leeway on any of those vehicles.
Because I think it's like if you're trying to go left, you got to turn the steering wheel right. Because when you have the carriage on the back of it, right?
I have no idea. I sit there and watch them in awe. Okay, because I don't want to drive them. I just be like, whoa. And again, the Three Kings, they whip those tractor trailers like it's a little punch buggy. Okay, I just be sitting there like, wow. The way they turn it, the way they park, it's not a thing to them. They've been doing it for years.
So the people from Delaware are the ones that you were saying that kind of struggle a little more so because of the whole.
I see that, in my opinion, they struggle more on the parking because they're not used to parallel parking. They're not used to backing in. You know, as far as the city persons, we parallel park all over the place, right? So even if you don't know how to do it well, you have an idea of how to parallel park.
So that's like the whole state of Delaware, even like from the farthest like points of the state, like they got to drive all the way here to actually.
Yes.
Wow.
Which is sad because we even have some that's close to Maryland, like Frankfurt and Laurel, and it's like 2.5 hours they have to come to Philly.
Now, why is that?
Because the district took over. So we're part of the whole district is now included. Delaware is included with us, and Reading and some other places is included. So I have to park, and they don't have a range for Delaware. They have an academy, but they don't have a range for us. So.
Yes.
And at one point we tried to get one there. I'm not sure what exactly happened with that, but they tried to get a range set up in Delaware and it fell through.
So on average, how many students do you guys have weekly?
So we teach Tuesday and Wednesday. We can get anywhere from on Tuesday about 23 is the less students up to 42, 46. And then on Wednesday, that's when the RCA, which are the rural carriers, is a little less. We normally don't get more than 2 to 8. Are rural carriers. And so our goal is to have all those students, let's say if we get about, for the whole class, let's say for Tuesday and Wednesday, 48 to 50 students, we try to have them all finished and trained by Saturday. Sometimes we have to wrap around to that Monday or Tuesday. When we're not training for the LLV, FFV, that's when the Pro Masters and 2 tons can get trained. And so that's why sometimes we're backed up, because if we have larger classes, we don't have anyone to train those because we can't do the Pro Master and a 2-ton in the evenings.
So is there like an instructor limit, like as far as how many you can have, or you guys are just still looking for people to sign up?
There's not a limit that we can have, but on Lindbergh course, we can only have 6 instructors because there's only spots for 6 vehicles to be at, right? And the same in the evening. But me and I think one other guy, he works overtime here and there, but right now I'm the one that's working the overtime in the evenings. So I can only train one person. You can't train 2 people at one time. It's one person per 6 hours.
Have you had any like returning people who have had accidents and they had to come get recertified?
Yeah, so they it's called refresher training. So depending on the accident, depending on exactly what happened, they either we take them out for a little bit of a street drive, or we go through the scenario. We put them on the computer. We talk to them for a few hours, and we go over different things with them. It just depends on the accident and what they're from and where they're coming from. Was it their fault per se? Did somebody hit them, or did they hit someone? Did they tear the vehicle up? Like, it's just a scenario. What depends on what happened, or like sometimes if they haven't driven the ProMaster or the 2-ton since they got trained and it's been some years, that's also considered a refresher. We'll bring them down, go over the vehicle again, take them on a street drive just to refresh their memory on how to drive those vehicles, because a lot of times we train people on those vehicles and they still won't drive it for years to come. It just depends on what station they're at or if they need them. Sometimes we train them only because they're coming back. They got trained the first time, but they go to a station who don't have it. And let's say they transfer to a station who do have the 2-ton now. Now, look, I haven't been trained since I came in the post office, which could be 10, 15 years from now. Mm-hmm. So now they need a refresher.
So is there any like personal advice that you give people? Like, because I know because you have a LOV for the route that you had at Roxborough, and it's very tight actually. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Is there anything you trying to like pass on to them? Like, if that's your vehicle that you're gonna be using for your route, take it personal, like keep it clean, keep it neat, keep it to your liking.
Ooh, I tell them all the time, I should not know what you had for lunch the day prior.
Seriously.
Okay. I hate a dirty vehicle. Make sure it has gas. I hate coming back and I have no gas. You know, always just check your mirrors. So there's supposed to be a yellow mirror adjustment station at each station. I didn't learn about this until I came to Lindbergh, where you put the vehicle in the mirror adjustment station and adjust your mirrors the right way. Many accidents can be prevented if the mirrors are adjusted the correct way. Sometimes as carriers, we're rushing. We're just trying to get in the vehicle and just go. We're not really checking. But you got to think, people are different heights, different size. They need to see different things. You have to see a different portion of the vehicle. So my philosophy is just always check it like you didn't check it before. Get in, sit in the vehicle, start it up, look at your mirrors, look what you need to see. If you need to, take someone with you so you can sit in the vehicle and adjust those mirrors. And make sure you always stay to the right. Don't get so comfortable where you're not paying attention to what you're doing.
Okay. Guys, any other questions?
Yeah, I have one more question. For anybody looking to switch crafts, what would you, like, what advice or what would you tell them to encourage them about joining the driver training?
So it's not really a craft, it's just a detail, and they only have but so many positions open. So it's not like we can get an influx of people only because we don't have the range space. Again, we can only train 6 people at one time. But the advice that I give people who I feel like they're probably don't want to do the job and they'll ask me, I'll just say, try everything. Being a carrier is your foot in the door. If you don't like it, find something else while you're still working. Don't quit. You can just change to something. Mail handler, clerk. I be telling them janitor even makes good money with the post office. Go into supervision. Do something else, but don't feel like, okay, I'm at this job. I've been here for a couple of weeks. I hate it. We all hated it when we first came in. Anything new, you don't know what you're doing. You're confused. You're frustrated. The hours are long. Right? Only because you have no idea what you're doing. Mm-hmm. But once you keep doing it, everything is repetitive. You learn it, you get better, you get faster, you start making your time, you start actually be able to enjoy the job. Because for me, I love the people, I love my customers. I talk to them when I can, right? You start to get to know the route, you start casing the route. Like, you know the thing at the back of your hand. You just case it up and you just know it. And it becomes so much easier. But I think now with this microwave society, they wanted to get it real quick. Like, they need it now. And when you don't get it like that, it can be frustrating. I understand it. But I just advise everybody to, like, stick with it. Lean on older carriers as far as their seniority. They talk to them. Any tips or tricks they can help you with, that helped me. I had a lot of senior carriers when I came in and say, all right, you're not making time. Let me go out here with you and see what you're doing. To pull you to the side and help you. You want to listen to those type of persons because they're the ones that's retired and they know what to do. And on a financial note, you know, I always lean to people as far as the TSP. I always tell the new carriers that, like, you get your information, that stuff coming at you so fast, you halfway know what they're talking about when you're in orientation. You know, hook up with somebody who know. Ask questions, ask as many questions to the right people, and you'll be all right. You just got to make friends, not so to speak, but financial friends in the post office that show you how to do the thrift savings, how to do different things, how to move around, how to apply for different positions, how to go in detail, how to do transfers. A lot of people don't even aren't familiar with how to work the light blue, how to look at the different jobs, how you do your resume on light blue. Go to some of these career activities that we have sometimes on Sundays to teach you how to fill out a 991. A lot of people don't even know about it. I didn't know about it for the first few years I was in the post office. So they have a lot of training as well, a lot of videos, a lot of books you can read if you just get into that type of stuff. And I didn't learn that stuff until I eventually started being on the computer or started looking into it or started getting certified in different things. So
what she's saying in short, people, is that we have this thing laid out perfectly for you to understand this job and maneuver through this job properly so they can better serve you and your family members. You know what I mean? You have to be proactive. That's what she's telling you guys. Be proactive. Like, every job has things set up in place for you to understand what you're doing, how to maneuver through the job and make it the best experience. You know what I mean? A lot of times, you know, like she said, you got to find the right people that are going to help you get there. Not everybody's going to help you, but it's your job to find the people that are going to help you when you need the actual help. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's via the internet nowadays. You know what I mean? Other times it's right in your station. Other times it's right in your district or in your installation, so to speak. But you have to be proactive. So we want to thank Mrs. Fuchs for coming through.
Thank
You know what I mean? Giving us the information, giving the information to you guys out there about driving instructing, driving training. You know, if you guys know any driving instructors in your district, wherever you are, reach out to them. Let them know, you know, I'm pretty sure most driving instructors don't hear a lot from their people they trained. I think some of them would like to hear that, hey, I'm still doing it. Thank you. You guys helped me. You guys helped me get through the job. You guys give me my confidence, et cetera, et cetera. Because, you know, my driving instructors, you know, when I first started, I wasn't really nervous about it, but I was really thrilled to actually learn how to drive on the other side. And it actually did work for me, like, later when I actually had to go somewhere where I had to use a car on the other side. You know what I mean? Everybody's looking like, how we going to drive this car? And I'm like, I got it.
right.
You know what I mean? So this thing really comes in handy, even outside the job sometimes. But before we get out of here and let my brothers, like always, have the last words.
I just want to thank you. I said this is a major thing. Like, give her information, like you said. This is great. Give her information up.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Miss Fuchs.
Thank you.
And yeah, we just encourage everybody to stick to it. You don't always have to be a carrier. You can do different stuff. Just never quit, never give up.
This is Black. I'm glad Nancy came through, gave us some good information. You know, come back to the station and see us. You know, they picking on me. I need some help.
Oh, man. Oh, my God.
Especially this one. This one right here. This one.
I come back when I can.
And as always, as your engineer, Rick Shines, trying to stay low-key. We're doing a horrible job at it. Always telling you guys, you know, be safe out there. And if you're a carrier, be safe on the route.